Hey guys, welcome back. So today we'll be converting fractions into decimals. So let's look at our first example. If we have the fraction 5/8 and I need to turn it into a decimal, I'm going to write my 8 on the outside and my 5 on the inside. 8 goes into 5 0 times. 8 times 0 is 0. 5 minus 0 is going to equal 5. I'm going to add my decimal and my 0 and my decimal here. I'm going to bring down my 0. 8 now goes into 50 now how many times? It goes in 6 times. 8 times 6 is 48. 50 minus 48 is going to equal 2. I'm going to bring down another 0. 8 goes into 20 now how many times? It goes in 2 times. 8 times 2 is 16. 20 minus 16 is going to equal 4. I'm going to bring down another 0. 8 goes into 40 now how many times? It goes in 5 times. 8 times 5 is 40. 40 minus 40 is going to equal 0. So your decimal, your final answer is 0.625. And for this example here, this is an example of a terminating decimal because your decimal ends. And notice too that your remainder is 0. So let's look at this example, 3/4. I'm going to write my 4 on the outside. My 3 is on the inside. 4 goes into 3 0 times. 4 times 0 is 0. 3 minus 0 is going to equal 3. I'm going to add my decimal, my 0, bring that down, and then add my decimal up here as well. 4 goes into 30 now how many times? It goes in 7 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 30 minus 28 is going to equal 2. I'm going to bring down my other 0 here. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 20 is going to equal 0. So your decimal is going to be 0.75. So let's try 2/5. I have my 5 on the outside and my 2 is on the inside. 5 goes into 2 0 times. 5 times 0 is 0. 2 minus 0 is going to equal 2. So I add my decimal and my 0 and another decimal here. Bring this 0 down. 5 goes into 20 now how many times? It goes in 4 times. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 minus 20 is going to equal 0. So your final answer, your decimal, is going to be 0.4. Let's try 1/4. I'm going to write my 4 on the outside. 1 is on the inside. 4 goes into 1 0 times. 4 times 0 is 0. 1 minus 0 is going to equal 1. I'm going to add my decimal and a 0 and my decimal up here. I'm going to bring down this 0. So 4 goes into 10 now how many times? It goes in 2 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 10 minus 8 is going to equal 2. I'm going to bring down my 0 here. 4 goes into 20 how many times? It goes in 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. So your answer here is going to be 0.25. So let's try 7/8. I'm going to put my 8 on the outside, 7 on the inside. 8 goes into 7 0 times. 8 times 0 is 0. 7 minus 0 is going to equal 7. I'm going to add my decimal and 0 and decimal here. Bring down my 0. 8 goes into 70 now how many times? It goes in 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. 70 minus 64 is going to equal 6. I'm going to bring down my 0. 8 goes into 60 now how many times? It goes in 7 times. 8 times 7 is going to equal 56. 60 minus 56 is going to equal 4. I'm going to bring down another 0. 8 goes into 40 now how many times? It goes in 5 times. 8 times 5 is 40. 40 minus 40 is going to equal 0. So your decimal, your final answer is 0.875. So let's try 2 over 3. So we have our 3 is on the outside, 2 is on the inside. 3 goes into 2 0 times. 3 times 0 is 0. 2 minus 0 is going to equal 2. I'm going to add my decimal and my 0 and my decimal here as well. I'm going to bring down this 0. 3 goes into 20 now. How many times? It goes in 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. 20 minus 18 is going to equal 2. I'm going to bring down another 0. 3 goes into 20, we said 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. 20 minus 18 is 2. Another 0 here. 3 goes into 26 times. 3 times 6 is 18. 20 minus 18 is 2. I'm going to bring down one more 0. 3 goes into 20, we said it was 6 times. 3 times 6, we said is 18. 20 minus 18 is going to equal 2. So notice for this example that we do have a repeating decimal. So your answer is going to be 0.6 with a line over just to indicate that it is repeating, or you can round your answer and write it as 0.67. So let's look at the same example. Let's say we had 1 and 2/3. We had a mixed number. So we already said that 2/3 equals 0.6 repeating. We already said that. However, if I have a 1, I'm going to do 1 plus 0.6 repeating. You're going to get 1.6 repeating, just like this. So all you do when you have a mixed number, you're going to add your whole number right in front of your decimal. So let's try 2 and 3/5. So we have our 5 on the outside, 3 on the inside. 5 goes into 3 0 times. 5 times 0 is 0. 3 minus 0 is going to equal 3. I'm going to add my decimal and my 0 and then my decimal up here. And I'm also going to bring my 0 down. So 5 goes into 30 now. How many times? It goes in 6 times. 5 times 6 is 30. 30 minus 30 is going to equal 0. So we already said 3 over 5 equals 0.6. However, I'm going to add my 2, my whole number, to the decimal. So your final answer is going to be 2.6. So let's try 4 and 3/8. So my 8 is on the outside, my 3 is on the inside. 8 goes into 3 0 times. 8 times 0 is 0. 3 minus 0 is going to equal 3. I'm going to add my decimal, 0, decimal, and bring this 0 down. 8 goes into 30 now. How many times? It goes in 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. 30 minus 24 is going to equal 6. I'm going to bring down my 0. 8 goes into 60 now. How many times? It goes in 7 times. 8 times 7 is 56. 60 minus 56 is going to equal 4. I'm going to bring down my 0. 8 goes into 45 times. 8 times 5 is 40. 40 minus 40 is going to equal 0. So we already said here that 3 over 8 equals 0.375. However, I'm going to add my 4, my whole number. So we have 4 plus my decimal. So your answer is going to be 4.375. So let's look at this example here. My 33 is on the outside and my 5 is on the inside. 33 goes into 5 0 times. 33 times 0 is going to be 0. 5 minus 0 is 5. I'm going to add my decimal, my 0, and my decimal up here. And I'm also going to bring down my 0. So 33 goes into 50 now. How many times? It goes in 1 time. 33 times 1 is 33. 50 minus 33 is going to equal 17. Bring down my 0. 33 goes into 170 5 times. 33 times 5 is 165. 170 minus 165 is 5. Bring down my 0. 33 goes into 50 one time. 33 times 1 is 33. 50 minus 33 is going to equal 17. Bring down my 0 one more time. 33 goes into 170 5 times. 33 times 5 is 165. 170 minus 165 is going to equal 5. So notice we do have a repeating decimal here. So 5 over 33 equals 0.15 repeating. And we have our 7 here. So 7 plus 0.15 repeating is going to be 7.15 repeating. So let's do 5 and 5/16. So my 16 is on the outside, 5 is on the inside. 16 goes into 5 0 times. 16 times 0 is 0. 5 minus 0 is 5. Add my decimal, bring the 0, decimal, and I'm going to bring this 0 down. 16 goes into 50 now. How many times? It goes in 3 times. 16 times 3 is 48. 50 minus 48 is going to equal 2. Bring down my 0 here. 16 goes into 20. How many times? It goes in 1 time. 16 times 1 is 16. 20 minus 16 is going to equal 4. Bring down another 0. 16 goes into 42 times. 16 times 2 is 32. 40 minus 32 is going to equal 8. I'm going to bring down another 0, my last one. So 16 goes into 80 5 times. 16 times 5 is 80. 80 minus 80 is going to equal 0. So your decimal here, 5 over 16, is going to equal 0.3125. However, I have my whole number here, so we add 5 plus the decimal. You're going to get 5.3125. So let's say you had -6 over 11, and you needed to turn this fraction into a decimal. We're going to do the same concept, except you're going to add the negative in your answer. So we have our 11 on the outside, 6 on the inside. 11 goes into 6 0 times. 11 times 0 is 0. 6 minus 0 is 6. Add my decimal, 0, decimal. Bring this 0 down. 11 goes into 60 now. How many times? It goes in 5 times. 11 times 5 is 55. 60 minus 55 is 5. Bring my 0. 11 goes into 54 times. 11 times 4 is 44. 50 minus 44 is going to equal 6. I'm going to bring down my 0. 11 goes into 65 times. 11 times 5 is 55. 60 minus 55 is 5. Bring down my 0 one more time. 11 goes into 50 now. How many times? It goes in 4 times. 11 times 4 is 44. 50 minus 44 is going to equal 6. So notice here that my decimal is a repeating decimal. It goes on and on and on. So your answer is going to be 0.54 repeating with your line over. However, you do need to include your negative in your final answer because we have a negative here in the fraction. So this is your final answer here. What if you had -2 over 9? So my 9 is on the outside, 2 is on the inside. 9 goes into 2 0 times. 9 times 0 is 0. 2 minus 0 is 2. Bring that decimal, 0, and the decimal up here. I'm going to bring down this 0. 9 goes into 20 now. 2 times. 9 times 2 is 18. 20 minus 18 is going to equal 2. Bring down another 0. 9 goes into 20 2 times, we said. 9 times 2 is 18. 20 minus 18 is 2. Bring down another 0. 9 goes into 22 times. 9 times 2 is 18. And notice here that my decimal is going to keep repeating. So your final answer is going to be 0.2 with the bar over to indicate that it is a repeating decimal. However, I do need to include the negative in my answer, which is here, because I have a negative in the fraction. So this is your final answer here. So let's try one more, negative 11 over 50. So I have my 50 on the outside, 11 is on the inside. 50 goes into 11 0 times. 50 times 0 is 0. 11 minus 0 is 11. I'm going to add my 0, decimal, and decimal. I'm going to bring down my 0 here. 50 goes into 110 now how many times? It goes in 2 times. 50 times 2 is 100. 110 minus 100 is going to equal 10. I'm going to bring down my 0. 50 goes into 100 now how many times? It goes in 2 times. 50 times 2 is 100. 100 minus 100 is going to equal 0. So your answer is going to be 0.22. However, I do need to include the negative because I do have a negative in my fraction. So this is your final answer. All right, so that is all for today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.